What I want to start off with first is back when you were struggling with drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of want to know where your mind was at, kind of what led into that, but more of where your mind was while you were in the process of that.
In the thick of it. Yeah, no, for those who might not know, I've been clean and sober for 21 years. I got sober when I was 26. And, when I was in the thick of it, I didn't quite see a way out. They have this saying kind of in AA, it's called the jumping off place. It's called where you can't see your life with alcohol and you can't see your life without it. Like neither one of them makes sense. And
Mm,
I spent
mm,
my last solid like 3 years of drinking in that place. It's like I don't know how to do this without it. I try like every few months, every 6 months, I try to get sober and I do it for like a week and like it just sucked. I never, even when I was a kid, before I ever, laid hands on drugs or alcohol, I never quite felt comfortable in my skin. I never felt okay.
mm,
It was something that I don't know if I was born with or whatever, but drinking and using drugs calmed that. It made that feeling
mm.
disappear. It definitely
Yeah,
numbed myself out, so I didn't have to, feel weird anymore. I just got to feel comfortably numb, right?
yeah,
I
yeah.
got to feel something that was a certainty. I knew when I drank or got high, I knew exactly how I was going to feel, even if it was bad for my
Hmm.
life. So what I felt was I
Hmm.
felt comfortable, but I definitely didn't feel good. I
Yeah.
never, especially the last couple years, last year, 2 years, I never had any good feeling from it. It just was something that it was what I was used to. So I stayed there.
That's so hard to kind of distinguish. Feeling comfortable doesn't necessarily feel good.
Yeah. Feel comfortable in something awful. A lot of people feel that way. A lot of people feel comfortable in very, very difficult circumstances like very bad relationships or other things. But the
Yeah,
devil sometimes the devil is better than the devil you don't know. So since they know it, they hang there, and I've been there. I know a lot
right.
of people, other people have been there, and that's it's a bit of human nature for some reason.
And yeah, and it doesn't stop at drugs and alcohol. There are a lot of addictions
Hmm.
that really hold people up in those bad situations.
Hmm.
So you said, you don't know if you were born with being uncomfortable with yourself. Do you ever remember looking back things that maybe were ingrained in you that were said to you by your parents, by friends,
Yeah,
by
loved ones.
relatives, or anything like that that kind of stuck with you?
Yeah, no, I grew up in a single mother household, but my mom was,
Mm-hmm.
my mom, she was a nurse's aide at the VA hospital. So basically she wasn't a nurse. So she would do like, like she'd do like a lot of the cleaning up. She'd do like a lot of the baths. She'd do all these things and she never made much money, but she had
Mm-hmm.
to take care of us. So she would always work double shifts and all these things. So it's not that she wasn't there. She was definitely there a lot. She was
Yeah.
an amazing, was an amazing in her attempt to do the very best she could, but she never said anything negative to me. She never was like, you know
Yeah.
what,
Wow.
there's something wrong with you. Or I know people who grew up in all kinds of abusive situations. I didn't have any of that, but what I didn't have was the
Yeah.
opposite either. I didn't have anybody like I have an 11-year-old son. I praise the heck out of that
Mm-hmm.
kid, man. And I don't lie to him. I tell
Mm-hmm.
him the truth. I'm like, son, you're an amazing kid. You can do anything in the world. I praise him for the things that he's done. I tell him to get better at things that he needs to get better at. But my son, every single time I talk to him, I tell him something good about him. Like he feels it. Like he actually, the other day when he was with me, he's like, there was the beginning of a song that said, you know what, son, you can do whatever you want. Some rapper was like, his dad was talking to him or something, and he's like,
Mm-hmm.
Dad, this reminds me of us, And I was like, yeah, I think I'm doing the right thing, because it's
Mm.
almost like giving food to a plant or something, man. You can just leave it there,
Yeah.
like which was kind of like me. Not, no disrespect to anyone, my brothers or anyone,
Mm-hmm.
but I just was kind of like a plant that was just there. It's like
Yeah.
I feed my kid. I give him sunshine. I give him water. I talk to him well, and just like any other plant, he'll flourish. And you know what? He's doing awesome.
Yeah.
He's a great kid. He's on the dean's list. He plays basketball. He's funny. He
Yeah.
has all those things going for him.
Yeah. It's not just about education. People are so focused on education and on grades and everything, but self-confidence and self-esteem and just, yeah, really, like you said, feeding like a plant, like
Hmm.
that's so important.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
were you sober when you started AA, or were you kind of in the midst of it? No, you were not.
I was trying to get sober, and
Hmm.
the first time I started I was like 19 years old. That's how bad my drinking was from the beginning. Like I started at like 17, 18. I drank alcoholically from the very start. And the
Mm.
first time I tried, I was like 19. And like when I was about 20, I actually got a year sober. It was wild. My brother was killed by an off-duty police officer, and that's no
Wow.
excuse. But let me tell you something, it completely jacked me up because my brother was my closest human being in my life. I started drinking in my last 5 years of drinking from 21 to 26. It was drinking, it was drugs, it was literally anything that I could do, and mainly it was a lot of depression. You know, I
Yeah.
don't even think I don't even think I got sober because of the alcohol or drugs. I just got sober because I was tired of being depressed and tired of feeling like a loser, quite frankly. You know, so
Mhm. Mhm.
I gave it a shot one more time, and you know, fortunately, it stuck.
Yeah. What were the things that AA instilled in you? I know you today you use a lot of affirmations.
Hmm.
Was it that type of thing that
Yeah,
they kind of preached?
no, not at all. Actually,
Okay.
the most important thing for AA is it taught me one day at a time. You know, it's
Mhm.
kind of the motto of the program, and it's a big deal because there's things like, you know, the power of now, where you're focused on staying in the moment instead of all that drama out in the future, or even the
Mhm.
past stuff. Just stay in the moment, take things simply, and that's been really helpful to me. And it, even in times like this, like, you know, the whole, you know, not right now maybe so much, but there was a time maybe like 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, it kind of felt like the entire world was completely about to split into and fall apart, right? And to some people it still might feel that way, and to some people they went through
Yeah.
a lot of difficult things and it still might be happening that way. But for me, it was, instead of worrying about, oh my god, what the heck's going to happen, just come back to the moment and be in the present. That's the most important thing that it taught me, was to stay a day at a time. All the affirmation stuff was all from books that I had read before I got sober. You know, I fortunately, and when I was like 20 or 21, I worked for a company that made you read books like that. And I didn't even think they were working, but I was just reading the crap out of all of them because for me it was like watching
Wow.
Star Wars. Reading these books was like reading like science fiction. Like, oh my god, people can do all this stuff. I didn't think it was me, but it was cool to
Yeah.
read it, you know? So I
Mm.
kept reading that stuff. Fortunately for me, once I finally got
Hmm.
sober, all that stuff hit, and the moment I got sober, all that stuff happened and I just started making progress.
I think a lot of people see all of these amazing things happening, these people making millions of dollars, and they're like, well, good for them. But that, like, I'm not a superhero,
Right.
and it's just super far out for them. You moved from AA to whatever company you were working for then, and then you became a financial advisor.
Yeah, it was a kind of a crazy jump. So but when I first got sober, when I was 11 days sober, I got a job. I got a temp agency job for a teddy bear company called Best Ever. It was a
Okay.
teddy bear company, and it was a Korean teddy bear company. And we used to be in all these gift shops all around the country.
Okay.
So I got a job doing data entry, which is literally they give you a piece of paper and you type in numbers all day. And trust me, when I was 11 days sober, that's like literally all I could handle. Like I could not do more than that. But
Mm-hmm.
fortunately, as a result of staying sober, and to this day, that was still the most important job I ever had, because I kept that job for 4 years. I didn't get fired. I didn't quit, which was even worse because I used to quit every single job I had, or quit every relationship, or all that other stuff. All I did
Mm.
was quit. So I stayed with something for 4 years. And as a result of, reading these books and staying sober and going to meetings and starting to help other people, what happened was I started to build a lot of confidence, and I started to do a lot of different things. Like I went from data entry to customer service. Then I was
Mm-hmm.
customer service for all these hospitals all over the country. And then I had relationships with all these people all over the place. Then I moved into operations and I started getting more and more responsibility. And then actually new bosses came into the facility somewhere like a couple years in, and I still, a couple of, they're both actually my friends today. And I actually,
Mm-hmm.
a part of my life was helping to teach them some of the basics of the company. So I actually, in a way, got a chance to train my bosses. So I had, all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden, I had all this, like I started having all this confidence and responsibility. And then I said, you know what? I'm just going to make a leap. I'm just going to try this thing. I've been at that teddy bear company for 4.5 years. One of my best friends, who is literally retired now, that's how successful he was as a financial advisor. He's like,
Wow.
dude, you should give it a shot. And I'm
Mm.
like, what do I have to lose? So I gave it a shot. It was, I barely graduated high school. So my competition
Wow.
was I was like a 30-year-old black guy with almost no education, whose competition was literally like 50 and 60-year-old white men who had masters in business and finance. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a huge confidence boost for me to go into that field and create any semblance of success at all. Like, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? To basically to be able to garner business and to be able to build business relationships with people was huge. To be able to do that it gave me a limitless outlook on myself and what was capable in the world. And it was a big deal because I learned how to do it because I built with other people in my company. So I found
Mhm.
other people who I could build with. Hey, I'm going to be the scrappy one who goes out and finds clients. I'm going to be the person who finds people who we can present to. If we land the deal, cool, we split it. So I was willing to do the dirty work while other people might have been able to do something else. Hey, they didn't want to be hungry and go look for clients. No one wants to hunt. No one
Yeah.
wants to cold call and do all this stuff. I was willing to do the grunt work, and I was able to form businesses with other people. And that's where I really learned the value of teamwork, which later led
Mm.
into personal training and life coaching, which my entire life is teamwork at this point.
Yeah. I mean, what gave you the hunger to do that and to be the scrappy one? I mean, I even find it hard for myself sometimes to go and find other people and you know,
Hmm.
if they're a little higher than me or
Yeah.
whatever, it's like they don't
Hmm.
want to mess with me or whatever.
Yeah.
How, like,
Yeah.
what was your mindset through that?
I think the biggest part of it is kind of what I said about Gus. Like it was what I fed myself. You know, it's like I would read these
Mhm.
books. I'm not even kidding. I've probably read 100 different personal development books. And
Mhm.
the thing that I know now, most people are generally tend to be successful their entire life, or they tend to be failures their entire life. There's not a ton of people who were big failures and then shot to success. But
Mhm.
the funny thing is if you know those people, they all know other people like that. I don't know if it's an energetic thing or what, but I
Mhm.
would feed myself so much good stuff, feed myself so much good stuff that I actually would start to believe it, you know. And then one building block came upon another. And once you have confidence, it really feeds itself. You know, once you have confidence, you have the confidence to start a podcast. You know,
Yeah.
you've been in book club for a couple of years, and you know people who are doing well. It's hard for you to
Mhm.
not want to do stuff when you see all these people kicking ass. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
see these people doing well. You surround yourself with people who do well. It makes you want to succeed. And now what I have is just a bigger, huger network of people just like that. I got literally the most successful people on planet Earth in my fold. They're friends of mine, and I see them do well, and it's hard to just sit there. You know what I mean? It's hard not to be a
Mhm.
better version of myself. And I fail all the time. Anyone who's close to me will know that I make mistakes like crazy. I act like an idiot sometimes. I'm not a good dad sometimes. Not a bunch, but sometimes I'm just not the best. But I get
Mhm.
up the very next day, I start my day off right, and I do the very best I can that next day. And hopefully I win more than I lose. And I think that's the case right now.
Yeah, it's all about taking action, right? Because you can read a million books,
Hmm.
and but until you actually make the move, it's
Yeah,
nothing. And it gets
100%.
easier. The first step
Hmm.
is the hardest.
And the reason why is because it's science. Okay. So
Yeah.
an object at rest tends to stay at rest, an object in motion tends to stay in motion. That's why when you're not doing anything, the hardest thing in the world is to get up and move. It's science. It's not you. It's not the way, it's just the way that things are. But the good news
Yeah.
is conversely, when you're moving, it's actually way easier to move faster. Like if a bowling ball was rolling on the ground, already moving, it'd be so much easier to push it than if it was just standing there in the beginning.
Mhm.
Once you're already rolling, once you already get the action going, it's a lot easier. And it's so much that way in working out. You know,
Yeah.
I coach as well as train, but it's like once people start working out, it's so much easier to go, okay, I want to do 3 days now instead of one, because they're already moving. It's
Mhm.
just science. It's not
Mhm.
much. It's just the way that things are designed.
Mhm. So then you went to personal training after financial advisor. So what made you get into personal training?
Yeah, the reason I got into personal training was because I had a 1 year old who was looking at me like, Dad, I need to eat. So I
Yeah.
was in finance. I was in finance for 4.5 years, and I left finance with a bunch of cash in the bank. And the reason I left finance is I didn't love the job. You know, I did
Mhm.
it for 4.5 years. I just never loved it, even though I was able to do well at it. I did. I mean, great financial advisors make hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars sometimes. I wasn't there, but I was doing well. You know,
Yeah.
and I just didn't like the job, and I didn't have uh, the motivation to do that for the rest of my life. And the way
Mhm.
everybody's a little bit different, but I tend to do things, and I'm so fortunate I learned that this is the way my mind works. Everyone's different, but I tend to do things that I know that I'm going to want to do for a good long period of time. And I don't
Yeah.
tend to do things that I don't think that I'm going to do for a long time. Just the way my
Mhm.
mind works. I don't know if it's my sign, whatever. So I knew I wasn't going to, I just didn't want to do that job forever. So I left, and I left and I
Mhm.
basically sat on my butt for like 9 months.
Mm.
And then I got a job in live sound. So I know all about your microphones and your headphones. It's when you mic people up for plays, for speeches. And I did that for a couple of
Mhm.
years. And I loved
Wow.
the gig. It was a friend of mine in AA's uncle owned a sound company. So I went to work for him for a couple of years. And my
Mhm.
son was born in that time. And, when my son was 1, it was like, dude, I need to make some dough. So one of the coolest stories I have is I was making $10 an hour. And I went to the owner of the company and I said, Les, my son needs more money and I need more money. Can I please get a $2 an hour raise to 12 bucks an hour, which ain't that much.
Mhm.
The luckiest break on the planet is that boss said no. He said, I can't. He's like, I like you, Yancy. I just can't afford it. And I said,
Mm.
okay. Okay, Les, thank you very much. The luckiest break I ever got, because
Yep.
I still know people at that company who are
Mhm.
still there. I'm 10 years later. I've been friggin' crushing it. I know people who are still there doing the exact same thing they were doing at that time. God bless them. But
Yeah.
if he would have given me 12, then maybe 14, then maybe 16, I'd still be like, thank God he said no. And then I was home and I was kind of I spent like a month trying to figure out what to do for Gus. Well, how am I going to be able to take care of this kid? What's the real future look like for this kid? And I was training for my very first marathon in 2010. And a sister of a neighbor comes up and she goes, her name's Jennifer. I'll never forget it. She goes, you'd be a great personal trainer. And I said, really? She's like, yeah, I'm a personal trainer. I love it. You don't even have to
Mm.
work that much. It pays well. All you got to do is get your clients. And I was like, really? And I started researching. And the funny thing is, Shay, I looked it up and it said like the average personal trainer made like 35 grand or something, or 40 grand. I was like, you know what? I might be able to survive off of that,
Mhm.
and,
Mhm. Mhm.
I went and, fortunately started at Equinox. And the great thing about Equinox is if you do really well there, you can get paid. If you're in the
Yeah.
middle, or it's not a good place to be in the middle or down low. But if you're up high, it's like a video game. You start getting all these extra bonuses and boom, 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 boom.
Yes.
And I've made many times that every year for a number of years, just busting my butt. And I love my job, and I've built great relationships, and I have an awesome network, and I get to stay healthy, and I get to learn about diet, and it all just came from following my heart.
Wow. And I
Yeah,
was a personal trainer for 2 years. That's just hard. I don't know if people understand. You have 8 one-hour sessions a day. That's an 8-hour day. Plus, you do programming and you're a therapist half the time, and it's a lot of work. So,
90% of the time.
I mean, what type when you started out there, because you have to go and you have
Yeah,
to walk the floor and you have to talk to people and really put yourself out there. What kind of things were going through your head? Then what made
yeah,
you keep going and stay hungry for that?
yeah. Especially at a place like that, you really got to pay your dues, because, like I said,
Yeah.
it's all that game is entirely rigged for the people who do the best. They give all
Mhm.
their money to the people who are in the top 10%. And for me, I just was able to look back at the things that I had done in the past. That's how success feeds upon itself. In finance, less than 1% of the financial advisors are Black, and that was the case when I started. I don't know if it's the case
Mhm.
anymore, but less than
Mhm.
1% of the people are Black, much less not having a college education. So for me, like I said, to have any semblance of success in that field was so much harder than making it as a as a personal trainer, because in a personal
Yeah.
trainer, like half the people are Black. We're athletic, we can teach, we can show. So it's
Mhm.
like, it's
Mhm.
easy. And, I had all this success in my back pocket. And it's why one of the reasons I remind people, remember your successes, man. Remember your
Yeah.
successes. You never know when you're going to have to pull it out of your back pocket and use it on a day when you don't feel like you can do it. Remember your successes, write them down, journal about them, look back at them.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
do a morning thing where I look back at past times in my life. There's a little segment in my morning routine where I look back at 3 things that are great that have happened in my past. And I look back at them and I go, thank you, God, thank you. I never start off a day without remembering successes anymore. I remember the first time I was number 1 in the country for my company. I remember the first time I made 100 grand. I remember when my son was born healthy. You know, I remember when I ran that first marathon. Look back at those successes because they're always there when you feel down, you know? So I was able to use the success from finance to know that, hey, I can do this. I can pick up a phone and cold call 100 people every single day that I don't even know. I know I can walk up to that guy and introduce myself and tell him, hey, it's nice to meet you. Let me know if I can ever be of service. And there were a lot of bad days. There were a lot of bad days. It took me like a year, and a half to really get rolling in that job. But once I got rolling, it was like a rocket ship, man. I just took off.
So a year and a half into that, you
Yeah, it took
became
me
one of the top trainers.
exactly a year and a half. So the way that there's Equinoxes all over the country, and in my particular gym, there's always been like 50 trainers. And exactly a year and a half after I started, it was December of 2011, was the very first time I was the number one trainer in my gym for an entire month. That means for that session, I did more sessions than anybody else. And let me tell you something, that was like, for me, I mean, coming from where I came from, everyone's super fit. Like, I'm not, dude, if you guys know me, see me, I'm in great shape and that's good, but I'm not like some big ripped dude or none of that mess. Back when I started at Equinox in 2010, there were some kick-ass trainers. There were some trainers that I still look to today, like, dang, dude, you were the man. And there was a guy named Chris Lang, who was always the number one trainer in my gym. Every single day, this guy suited up and showed up. And I was like, dang, how can I be more like that guy? And I actually asked him, you know, like most people never ask me at Equinox, but every now and then somebody will come up and ask me, dude, how do you do it? And I'll sit down and I'll talk with him and I'll tell him how to get it done. But anyway, it was December of 2011 and it was before the year ended. And I always love the start of a new year anyway. And I was number one. And it just felt like winning a gold medal at the Olympics, Shay. It just felt like, oh my
Yeah.
God, out of all these 50 people, no one can say they did more sessions than me this month, you know? And then I think I won like 12 months in a row. I don't think I ever lost again for like a year. And then I went to like maybe like number 20 in the country or like number something like that in the company. But then I spent the next bunch of years like in the top 10, number 10, number 4, number 8. And that's when I was just really pegging it, like 180
Yeah.
sessions, 200 sessions every single month, just really killing it, you know, and
Yeah.
providing for my family, you know, it was a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's day in and day out. That's not just, okay, you won for a month and then you keep all your clients and they, stay at the gym. That's day in and day out. So you started life coaching
Exactly 4 years ago. And that just
4 years.
was a result of after 6 years of literally doing a zillion sessions, your brain just starts to go, what else is there for me? You know, I
Yeah.
mean, what's next? I mean, you can't, I love training. It keeps me fit. It keeps me young. I don't ever plan on stopping training as long as my body moves. But your brain definitely naturally goes, what's next? There's only, you know, you're growing or you're going, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
what else can I do for people? And fortunately for me, I had a few life coaches. And I was like, especially the last couple, I was like, you know what? I bet you I'm better than they are. And I
Mhm.
won't speak to their names or anything like that,
Mhm.
but I was like,
Mhm.
I bet you I can help somebody outside of the gym with goals like business or specifically mental and emotional and spiritual health, well-being and health. I bet you that I can take a person who's a boss or somebody who's has a really, really tough life and I can help them be better than the last couple people who helped me. Because there was a point where I was like, dude, I'm doing all the sessions I can do. What can I do to do next? How can I go any higher? What can I do next? And I was working with people and they weren't quite helping me break through. And I was like, you know, God, this sounds like something I might want to do. Let me know if this is what I'm supposed to do. You know, I believe in God and I ask God for help all the time.
Mhm.
And I was just like, if this is what you want me to do, let me know. And let me tell you, I went to bed that night knowing that I was going to be life coaching for the rest of my life. I didn't know if I was
Mhm.
going to be coaching one person a day, one person a year, but I knew that when that casket drops, even though I'm going to be cremated, I'm not going to be
Mhm.
put in a
Mhm.
casket.
Mhm.
When that thing's done, I'm still going to be coaching that day. I knew it when I went to bed that night, and I've been coaching ever since. And I went and got certified, and I've never not been coaching since that time. So
Mhm.
granted, I'm a very busy trainer, so I do training 90% of the time. But I've always had at least 1, 2, or 3 coaching clients at any given time that I work with. Now on a daily basis, I used to work with people once a week, but now I work with people every day.
And how did you know? It was just a feeling, just your intuition and
You know it in your
your
gut.
excitement. Yeah.
It was right as rain. I knew that I was supposed to be doing it. I just knew it because it also just it was also I had done book club for a while and just I had
Mhm.
gotten the opportunity to mentor some people and it's not like mentoring. It's a lot different because usually coaching I'm working with somebody who's actually more successful than me, not like somebody who I'm trying to help
Yeah.
get to my spot. It's a different
Yes.
animal, but it is
Yes.
kind of the same. So it was like I had done a lot of that stuff, and I was like, I know how to give advice. And I learned later that coaching isn't about giving advice. Really, it's about helping people figure out their own advice, at least when you do it my way. The answers are all within the person. I'm here to help them dig, excavate, find the answers that they want, and most importantly, have an accountability partner, somebody that they have to talk to on a daily basis. Hey, what did we get done? And they take action in that regard. And usually people are way more successful than me and usually make way more money.
Do they have the ability to push back? You know, if you try to get them maybe to dig a little more spiritually
Hmm.
or physically, mentally, like mental exercises, or do people really push back and you tell
Yeah,
them the truth and you're,
absolutely. It's just
yeah,
like any other relationship, just like any
yeah,
other relationship. And often in coaching, it's a kind of a different animal, but so often in coaching I push people so hard, even though I have like a very chill kind of disposition. I have a lot of good energy, I know this, but
mhm,
my energy, I'm not like in your face and blah, I'm not doing any of that mess. I'm just talking to people, but usually I push them so hard that after about a month they're usually done for a while. Like it's usually like,
mm,
okay, I need to breathe, I got my exercises, I'm going to work for a while, and I'll see you in a couple months. So often, so to combat that, I had to create 3 and 6 months programs. It's like, look, dude,
mm,
you're not stopping. You're not stopping because you're going faster than you've ever gone before, because you're
yeah,
getting a better result than you've ever gotten. You're not stopping. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep finding other ways to get you better. So yeah, but yeah, it's just like any other
yeah,
relationship. The person will say no all the time, or sometimes don't show
yeah,
up, or sometimes disappear. I've had people that I've
yeah,
had done a great job coaching with who stopped. It's just
yeah,
it's too much, or it doesn't work, or usually often something will happen in their life, and it's funny how life works out this way, that'll make them break away from it. Something happened with their family, or they got sick, or this or that. Something
yeah.
happens when somebody reaches the top of their success thermometer, that has to shut it down. And that's a part of coaching, is working on combating that, and raising your success thermostat higher than it is now.
Do you think that's around beliefs? I mean, I know you said with family and you know, you can always make the excuse, well, my family needs this or whatever, but it could still be an excuse. So do you think it's more situational or do you think it's more belief?
All it
Yeah.
is beliefs.
Yeah.
And talent has to match. I could have,
Mhm.
if I'm 5 feet tall, all right, let's say I'm a jockey and I want to be in the NBA. I can have all the belief in the world. It's going to be tough. But if you
Yeah.
have if you have some semblance of talent to match it, it's all about
Mhm.
belief. I mean, how many people do we know that, I mean, that they might not be the most attractive person in the world, but they have all that confidence, they have all that swagger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And next thing you know, everybody in the world is looking at them like there's something special, because it
Yeah.
comes from the inside. And your same thing with your success thermometer. Once you believe you're at a certain height and you're not supposed to go any higher, you're going to get sick. Something's going to happen in the universe. Something that's going to happen that's going to make you slow down and stop. And
Mhm.
my job is to help change the belief system, help you
Mm.
ingrain it so much in you that you're supposed to go to the next level. You're supposed to level up. And all it is
Mhm.
it's language, it's the way you hold your body, it's what you do on a daily basis. And a lot of times it's actually just fighting the devil.
Yeah.
It's fighting the
Yeah.
devil within you that wants to get you to stop. And that's not even in just the people I coach, that's in me too. Every
Yeah.
therapist has
Yeah.
every therapist has their own emotional problems. Like a therapist, because they're a
Yeah.
therapist doesn't mean they're my they I have my own problems too. I'm fighting and working through things just like everybody else. I'm
Mhm.
just really good at helping people do it. And I've had some semblance of success where people can look at me and go, okay, that guy's successful enough in that field that I think he can help me in this field. Because I generally don't work with trainers. I work with writers. I work
Right.
with CEOs. I work with athletes. I work with these other things. But they know, hey, he's successful in this. I bet you that he can help me be successful in that.
Yeah, because beliefs definitely range. They're the same. You can find the same limiting belief in a CEO as a personal trainer or, you know, just
Absolutely.
anybody. What do you feel you can do in your life right now? Maybe something that's been on your mind to level up. I know you've incorporated cold showers, so I'm not going to let
Coach.
you off with saying that.
I got a huge one, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
I'm gonna say it right now, because it's something that I when I coach people at a long enough stage, there's different things that I do in coaching, and a lot of them is creating goals, creating action plans and taking action plans. But after you have so many action plans in motion, there's other things, you know? And one of the
Mhm.
things that I have to get and level up on is my morning routine. Okay.
Mm.
So I've done it the last couple of days and it has been friggin' money. So for me
Yeah.
to start my day instead of just jumping out of bed, because guess what? I tend to start at 7 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the morning. So it's hard for
Mhm.
me to get out of bed earlier so that I can do 20 minutes of a proper morning routine to
Yeah.
make sure that my day is set off on the right tone. I usually get out of bed, I get on my knees and thank God, I say what I'm grateful for, and then I get moving and get a good breakfast in me and all this stuff so I can get on Zoom, or I can, back when I was in the gym, get into the gym or whatever.
Mhm.
It's really important that I take the extra 20 minutes that it takes to do the proper morning routine. And I know what that proper morning routine, it's one of my favorite ones. There's all kinds of different ones, but I love the Tony Robbins. It's called
Mm.
priming. It's amazing. Basically, you do a certain type of breathing. You do a few minutes of breathing to get your body amped up and working. You get into gratitude. Get into things that you're grateful for. You get quiet and you sense energy coming from above and flowing through your body and coming out, and sense all the healing and all these different things. You do that and you send it to other people, and then you get into the things that you want to create, and you get into these things that you want to create and you see them as if they are. Also, there are some, you look at your past successes, like I said earlier,
Mm.
and then you celebrate them like they already happened. And that's one of the things I love to do with people when we coach. I have them
Yeah.
see the thing, get up, yes, and celebrate as if it totally happened already. And you do this and it takes about 20 minutes. And let me tell you something, to start your day like that is a completely different animal than just getting out of bed and being grateful, which is a great start,
Mhm.
and then eating food. So I'm going to
Mhm.
get up and I'm going to level up by doing what I coach, and I'm going to start every single day. I started the last couple of days, and I'm not going to stop. I actually even did it in the middle of the day today, because guess what? I knew I had a podcast, and I knew my energy had to be high. So I was like, boom,
Yes.
in the middle of the day, I did that whole priming routine again. I'm going to do it every single morning, no matter what, and I highly encourage people to do it too. There's a great YouTube for it. I actually sent it to the book club.
Oh,
I
I
sent it
know.
already. It's in there. So excuse the ads, but it's one of the most amazing things you can
Yeah.
do to start your day. So I'm gonna do that, and when 1 year from now comes, you're gonna come back to me and you're gonna ask me, did you do that? You can feel free to ask me in a week. You can feel free to
Mhm.
ask me in a month, but
Mhm.
it's locked in. A year from now, you're gonna be like, Yancy, are you still doing that priming routine? I'm gonna go, yep, every single morning, and it will help you level up, and it will help me level up, because I got big things on the horizon, Shay. You don't even know.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, I can tell with I mean, you're always energetic, but just knowing it for a fact, like if you already see things of they're
Hmm.
done, they're done. They're done.
Yeah, it's a
It's
wrap. Yeah,
yeah, it's
it's a
done.
decision. We've
Yeah.
talked about this so much. Decision is one of the most important things. When you actually make a decision, not like, I think so. No, when
Mhm.
you decide, next thing you know, 21 years will go by and you'll have been sober that entire time. When you make a decision, the root of the word decision is to cut off from. When you
Mhm.
make a decision, it's over. There's no other
Yeah.
option for you. So true decisions, it's done.
Yes. I love it. I love it. We have a question right here.
There's some stuff
Said
in the
I
chat I wanted to
yeah.
talk address as well.
How do you overcome defeat? Basically, the first step, alcohol addiction, first step, job interview failure, etc.
For me, I can tell you, when I was brand new and newly sober, the biggest deal for me was going to meetings every day. You going to meetings every day, like I had said, teamwork. My entire life is about teamwork at this point. Getting the energy from another human being. It's a lot easier to go further, faster when you work with others. So for me, when I was new,
Mm,
I didn't know how to say so. I didn't know I didn't think I was going to say sober, none of that stuff. But I went to meetings every single day, and I hung with the winners. You know what I mean? I stayed
yeah.
and I talked to people who were sober. I'd go afterwards and I'd get coffee with people who were sober. And then guess what? When I had a tough day at the job, or I had, you know, dude, when I got that job at 11 days sober, I got that data entry job. About 3 weeks in, I was like, dude, I need to be getting out of here, man. Like, I mean, I'm
Mhm.
used to, like, it's been 3 weeks. I'm used to quitting things by now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would talk to my sponsor. Hey, man,
Mhm.
I feel like crap. I don't want to do this right now. And working with other people, getting the energy of winners in your life, it is invaluable. Work with people who are successful and they will help you level up. Teamwork is everything.
Also, like speaking your thoughts out loud. Sometimes if it becomes a habit and they're negative, then it can be bad. But if you go and you ask someone for advice and you actually, say it out loud, it releases so much pressure off of you.
Shay, the job after I had that job as a data entry person for a while, you know what I did? I went to my sponsor and I was like, Troy, you know what? I know exactly what I'm supposed to do, man. I know what I'm supposed to do with my life. I was like 2 months sober. I was like, Troy, I'm supposed to be a professional gambler, man.
Oh my gosh.
And he's like, Yancy, that is the worst idea I've ever heard in my entire life. Sometimes you are going to have a dream that everybody knocks, and that is
Yes.
really the perfect dream for you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're going to get some good advice, like don't become a professional gambler, dude. There's probably not a good idea for you.
Yeah.
And you got to know, one of the reasons you got to get in touch with your gut is because you'll know the difference. You'll know the difference on goals and dreams that you have that people are knocking, that you're supposed to be following, and ones that
Yeah.
you're supposed to give up on.
Yeah. Listening to your gut, like what is the balance between action and listening to your gut? How do you know when you're taking too much action? I mean, I guess just listen to your gut, right? You ask God for an answer and he doesn't come right away. How do you know, oh well, do I keep going?
Yeah, it is a tricky balance. I wish
It
there was
is.
there's a simple answer for that.
Yeah.
But I can tell you right now, the move that you're thinking about taking, the more in tune with your gut you are, you'll know if I'm not taking that action based on fear, or I'm
Yes.
not taking that action because I'm not sure about the action.
Mhm. Mhm.
If you're not sure about the action, you don't have to take it. You'll know if you're afraid. If you're afraid
Yes.
of the action, but you know that it's a good one, that's when you need to take it immediately.
Yeah.
Because the only thing that's
Yes.
going to happen is you're going to fail or you're going to succeed, one of the two. And either way is feedback. And you're going to get
Yeah.
feedback and you're going to need to try again in a different way or what have you. If you know the thing's the right thing to do and you're just afraid, find a way to take action right now. So let's say the action is to start a company. You're not going to start that company tomorrow. But what you are going to do today is you're not going to wait until tomorrow. You're going to get on the internet and you're going to do the perfect amount of research that you need to do so that you know you took a certain amount of action today. And you're going to make a couple of calls to people in that industry so that you can start to learn from people who are already doing it. You're going to
Yeah.
take action today, not
Yeah.
tomorrow. Tomorrow's the worst day in the world. Today is the day of action, right? And you
Yeah.
go.
Yes, I love that. So, question. I eat healthy, 3 veggies a day at least, and am a sugar addict. How do I break this?
The way you change it is you get leverage. Okay. And the way you get leverage is this: you come up with all of the things that happen good when you don't eat cookies. When all you do is eat veggies and you do well and treat yourself well, what is all the good stuff? And write it down. Get super clear on all the good things that come from taking care of yourself. And more importantly, and this is the part that people forget, look at all the bad crap that happens when you fall victim to the cookies, right? When you eat a bunch of cookies and your stomach feels like crap, your self-esteem is low, all of the bad things, look at those too and write them down. Get
Mm.
leverage. Take a look at all the good things that happen when you do it the right way, and take a look at all the bad things. And I don't mean just like feeling bad. It's just like, hey, guess what? I eat like this for the rest of the next 10 years. I might become ill. I might become sick, or I might lose
Mhm.
control. Bad things could happen, including ultimately death, really, if you keep following a bad certain number of patterns. So get leverage, not just the good stuff, but all the bad stuff. And the thing about leverage is if you walk up to a car right now and try to lift it, it's going to be pretty hard. But guess what? If you get the right tool, like a jack, or get far enough away for something with a fulcrum, you could actually lift a car with ease. One human being could lift a car if they have the right leverage. So
Mm.
making the difference in the diet is getting leverage, and get clear on it and see it. I don't care if you need to put a picture on your phone of the good and the bad. I don't care if you need to have a picture of something that you want to be and a picture of something you don't want to be. Get leverage, take a look at both of those things, and you will be able to move a lot more quickly than if you don't.
Definitely. And I also think emotion. I mean, I can look at a picture of six pack abs all day and be like, yeah, I want that. But unless I feel some type of emotion that's connected with that, it really doesn't do much for me.
The key question there is, how do you get to the emotion then, right?
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah.
get to the emotion? A lot of times people will run from what hurts them. A lot of times people will run from pain more than they will move toward pleasure. So getting
Mm-hmm.
real clarity, I have people get quiet, close their eyes, take a look at yourself 5 years from now. Literally, if all you did was eat cookies, take a look at your body and close your eyes and feel it. Don't just think it, don't say it. Really get quiet and feel it. That's how you get the emotion. And then tell yourself, that's not who I am. I am the opposite. Stand up and feel it and shout, make noise, feel it in your body. If you feel it in your body, your brain can't help but feel it as well. And do it, like do it for
Yeah.
real. Do it, even
Yeah.
if it's not to be an embarrassing thing, but use your body as a tool. That's what it's there for.
Yeah. I love it. When starting a business, how do you work through building trust with your clients? I went for it and started a boutique, and my social media is growing, but I'm having a hard time converting it to sales. So, building trust with your clients.
That's a great question. Um, I think the first thing is getting clarity on what trust looks like, I guess. So I mean, not just enough trust to close the deal. Like what does trust look like? How does it look like something where you guys, you have discussion back and forth? I know people tend to work with people that they like. So usually you build trust by having some type of communication with them. Or if your communication that you have with these potential clients is like level X, make it level Y, level Z. Try to find other ways to communicate with these people and show them who you are and show them why you're trustworthy. Send them news, send them things that you've done well. Email it, create a MailChimp, something like that, where they're seeing that. And then also find a way to communicate with them and say hi. Hey, here's wishing you well in your business. I don't know what your business exactly is like, so it's a little hard for me to answer that question. But I can tell you right now, people tend to work with people that they have good communication with and like. All things being equal, if you're one boutique and somebody has another boutique and you guys' product is about the same, they're going to work with the person that they like. So find ways to build that communication with them. He says it's plus size clothing online boutique.
Mm.
Find a way to communicate with your clientele. Get their emails. Send them regular emails. Send them regular messages. Not Don't bombard them, but send them regular messages with successes that you've had, things that you've done well. Hey, this client tried it and they love it. Here's that. Or find a way to connect with more people in that regard. You can also have more people too. So if you have more people, if you only communicate and are able to work with 5% of people, it's better to be trying to communicate with 100 people than it is to be trying to communicate with five.
Going off of that, I listen to a lot of Gary Vee, and
Mm-hmm.
he always talks about building value and giving your customers value, and then you ask. Because if you just ask, they're gonna be like, who's this? Who is this person?
Mm-hmm. Build value in your product, and then it's a lot easier to tell people about the wins because you have more people that are using it, et cetera, et cetera.
How
Yeah,
should you handle things when you make a mistake?
yeah. And how do you handle things when you make a mistake? Well, I am very accustomed to doing this. I'm very human, and I make mistakes all the time. For me, I think the biggest part is trying to identify how you can do it differently. The first thing you have to do is, if possible, apologize. For me, apologizing means I have to feel that I've actually screwed up first. It's like, even if I immediately make a mistake, sometimes I might just knee jerk apologize, but sometimes I have to like really feel that what I did first, and then I come back and apologize. And then realizing that we're humans and we make mistakes. I wish the mistakes I make are the last mistakes I'm ever going to make.
Hmm.
Sorry, they're not. And
Hmm.
sometimes I'm the kind of person who likes to beat myself up sometimes too when I screw up. So one of the ways that I got better with dealing with that is realizing, guess what, dude? It's not your last mistake. It's not your first one, and you're just gonna have to get up and try again. For me, trying again doesn't mean trying again in the same way. For me, trying again means try to find a little different way to do it. So for me, it tends to look like asking somebody for help. I have a therapist, I have a life coach, I have an AA sponsor, I have friends. And for me, I usually tend to take the situations that I screw up on and take them to other people and ask them for advice. And they usually give me a little different way to do it. So apologize and try again in a different way.
I love that. And when I make a mistake for like
Mm-hmm.
against myself, apologizing, I think within maybe the past year, I've started doing that of being like, it's okay. I'm sorry. And it's
Hmm.
okay. Uh, and letting it go rather than beating myself up about it, because there's no point to that.
It's okay to get pissed for a moment.
Yeah.
Get mad, because that's also leverage, by the way. Getting mad about
Mhm.
screwing up
Mhm.
can be really good leverage. Just don't live there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person, not now, but in the past, who I would beat myself up like continually, like beyond. I mean, what's the point?
Mhm.
For my past mistakes. Now, when you make a mistake, there's something I want to talk about. It's a big deal. I talked about it in my seminar last time, and it's one thing I tend to use whenever problems come up, and it's the twofold solution to problems. And
Mhm.
that's what I often talk about, the twofold solution to problems. Any problem that comes up, any challenges, what can you be grateful for? And extra credit if you can be grateful for something that has direct relation to the problem.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
and two is, what is the opportunity? Okay,
Yeah.
what are the opportunities that are coming directly from this mistake? Directly, as a responsibility of what's happened. And if you can do that twofold solution to problems, I created this after years of coaching. You can deal with any challenge, really, COVID-19, being an idiot at home, whatever, and you can come up with things to be grateful for. Hey, I have somebody to be an idiot at home to. Hey, I have a
Mhm.
relationship with that
Mhm.
human being. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm alive today. I woke up. You can come up with 10, 25, 50 things to be grateful for that are directly related to the problem. And now what's the opportunity? Guess what? I get the opportunity to be better. And if I
Mm.
get better, I have the opportunity to help somebody else who might have made the same mistake. And there's usually, if you sit down and work on it, there's 10, 25, 50 different opportunities that come from every single challenge and problem.
Thank you. There's so much to be grateful for. Just little things that I have to remind myself of.
Hmm.
I was putting
Yeah.
on my shoes this morning. I was just tying them just like every other day. I don't know the last time that I've been grateful to have a pair of shoes, you know, but I
Yeah.
was this morning, it it just felt great to
Yeah.
focus on those things.
Yeah, gratitude is everything. Gratitude is wealth. When you're grateful, you're rich. I know a lot of really rich people,
Yeah.
man. And I know some people who are really rich and they're not grateful at all. And I can tell you right now, there's somebody who has absolutely nothing, who's happy and who's grateful to be alive, and they won the game. They won because they're
Yeah.
already rich, because they're already
Yep.
happy. Gratitude is
Yep.
everything. We've had so many books, Shay, that we've gone over in book club, that
Mhm.
gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. So we tend to work on these things, but gratitude is wealth.
Thank you, everyone. This is the Level Up podcast with Shay and Yancy Berry. We will see you next time.
Let's level up.